And
Marker.
Take
Take
one.
two.
Okay.
Sibs.
Sibs.
not
Sibs.
Sibs.
It could be Sibs.
Sibs.
Take two.
Sebs?
Hepatitis.
Sibs or
Waffle and a quarter.
One quarter.
Waffle and a quarter.
Waffle and
Four
3
waffles.
quarters.
Waffle fries.
Waffle.
The Williams Bothers. We could just go back to the OG.
There you go. It could
Yeah,
be.
because that's the name. That should be definitely the name of it.
Yep.
Yeah, Mom's
If anybody
YouTube channel.
hears this, it's gonna be definitely a bother. That's like a gaggle of geese, a bother of wood.
Bother Williams's.
Yeah.
Williams is this?
Williams's.
Just like a gaggle of geese.
Yeah.
So how's everyone doing?
Not too bad.
Pretty
This
good.
is our...
Alright.
Oh, just alright.
I'm alright.
Well, I think you gotta be doing better than alright.
Yeah, I am.
No, that's
Great. Fantastic.
glad
Just started.
glad we can improve your day. So yeah, hopefully this podcast improves your day. Shane, would you like to get it started? Because last night I popped a tire and Shane had to come and pick me up. So what happened afterwards?
So I'm not sure if I have told you this, Zach, but I was talking to...
You didn't tell me anything.
Okay. I was talking to my friend Jackson, and he informed me that there is a graveyard in Waterloo with a statue that if you touch it, you're supposed to die afterwards.
Like immediately after, or it
Just
takes a while?
like within like a week, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well, we did make a joke where it was
Explain.
like, what? No, you go.
I was gonna say, explain what happened the other day, and then explain.
Oh, yeah. And so on New Year's, I was hanging out with Jackson and his family, and afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm going to stop by the cemetery. I'm going to touch it just to, like, you know, I'm not superstitious, so I'm going to test what happens. And I got to the cemetery, and on my way there was no fog, and I reached the cemetery, and all of a sudden, I couldn't see in front of me. It was just thick fog. And I got super just, like,
Bad
unnerved.
juju.
So I turned around, went to the highway, and drove right to Fort Wayne. And you messaged me and were like, hey, I need a ride back. So I dropped you off and I was like, I'm real close to Waterloo. I should go touch that statue. So I drove to Waterloo. I was going like up and down the rows. I was driving down the rows trying to find the statue. And I find it and I like pause my music and I start to open my door. And all of a sudden I see another set of headlights pulling into the graveyard.
Wait, what were you listening to? What was the music?
I don't remember.
Were you like, I gotta pause this music, I want to curse myself, but,
No.
but I don't want to take this band down with me.
I like it when you call me Big Pop.
I just wanted. I didn't want to miss
my
it.
hips don't like.
I didn't want to miss
Shane
the
touched
music.
statue, dude.
So I saw another set of headlights coming in, and I was like, okay, I need to like get out of here. Hopefully, I can like get out and pull away, and like they won't follow me or whatever. And the second I pull out, red and blue lights start flashing.
Oh no!
And immediately, I just like head and hands. I pull over, and I pull out my wallet, pull out my ID, and I roll down my window. And the cop's just like, "Hey, what are you doing in a cemetery at 2:30 at night?"
Oh no! Last night you got pulled over?
Yeah, right after I dropped you off, I went to Waterloo and went to the
Oh
cemetery.
no! I told you to be careful.
Yeah, no, and the cop was, and I was gonna try and get myself killed by a demonic curse.
He didn't take your warning.
The cop's like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "No, I was just
I
informed
touched
I'm gonna
the
die within a week. I've got a week to live, officer.
But
Please help."
he was like, "What are you doing at the cemetery at 2:30?" And I was just like, I was struggling to sleep, so I decided to go for a drive. And he was just like,
cemetery.
he was like, "Any reason you're struggling to sleep?" I was like, "Well, I'm bipolar, and sometimes I get into lows, and I just kind of struggle to stay asleep. So I figured I'd go for a drive and just kind of try and tire myself out a little bit." And he was like, "Anything I can do for you?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And handed him the ID, and he checked it over, called in like my name and everything, and they checked it and handed it back, and was just like, "Okay, if there's nothing I can do for you, have a good day, man." And I was like, "You too." Rolled my window up and drove away. And I immediately was just like, I hope He's not following me all the way, just following me the rest of the way.
Right.
Otherwise, he's gonna be like, But
It should have been like, I dare you to touch the statue.
it was way too easy to just be like, yeah, I was having trouble sleeping, so I was driving through a cemetery, and he was just like, okay, man, have a good night.
He just goes with it.
I think
that's
what we
what I said.
He just rolled with it.
I think what we learned from this story is use your mental illness to your advantage.
I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, like what if Shane was a serial killer and he just like had a dead body or something?
Just because you're a
Just
serial
buried it.
killer doesn't mean you sleep well at night.
Definitely not.
I hope you don't.
Yeah, it's true. You probably sleep worse if you're a serial killer. So, if anything, Shane's saying he hasn't been sleeping well and has been visiting the cemetery to cope. The cop should have been like,
Well, it's a good thing I
"You
wasn't
visiting
questioned more.
somebody in the cemetery?" Or
Yeah, he said like people do drugs at night there, and so that's what he was checking on, was
Oh,
to
I
make sure I
can see
wasn't
that.
just doing drugs.
yeah, back in my day, we just went to the regular parks.
No, people still do that too.
Not the dead people's park.
Yeah, the dead people park. It's like the amusement park for corpses. Okay, that's
It's a theme
Little
park.
miss.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The theme is dead bodies.
it's a spooky theme.
Spooky park.
Yeah,
park.
people are dying to get in. Oh yeah, spooky park. That's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother waffle and a half.
Waffle and 3/4.
Today I did open mic stand up, and it was a 5-minute set. I went about 3 minutes.
And that was for the
Type
first
three.
time ever, right? Like you've
Yeah,
never done that before.
right.
The tight 3.
Tight 3, yeah, less tight than I could have anticipated. But I didn't really prepare, and well, not as much as I should have anyway. Like I had some topics in mind, but I didn't like write out what I was gonna say and try and like learn a 5-minute set or whatever. But I also didn't know how they were gonna run it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made some dead grandma jokes, and the guy before me, or it was a couple before me, but I don't think it was intentional, but he had said that show choir girls were stupid, and it was like completely deadpan and not funny, and then he like started being like, and then he pulled out his phone and started looking through notes. And for like probably a solid minute of his 5 minutes, he was like looking through his phone and doing on the mic like elevator noises, whistling and stuff.
Like trying to find a good joke. Do 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 do.
And then he finished it, basically, yeah, and he finished it by putting his phone back in his pocket, and he's like, okay, we're back. There wasn't really anything in the notes. And I mean,
Man, these were
I'm
useless.
sure
I
I
thought
got a
there was more in
laugh
there.
though.
yeah, it did get a laugh. I mean, that kind of killed, but I don't know if it was intentional or not. And it started messing with my head because I was like, I did show choir. I can probably joke about that a little bit. And,
Especially after that guy said something, you got an in to joke about that.
right.
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm thinking, talk about dead grandmas, talk about cross country, and then I get up there and I'm like, I was in show choir.
And then you pull out your phone and check your notes.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I didn't even have my phone. I was just up there, and in my head, I was like, I don't have anything funny to say about show choir. Why did I actually start talking about this before I?
Should have just been like, I was in show choir, and then sing and dance the rest of your jokes.
Well, I was like,
You should have said, no, what you should have said was, I was in show choir. I was also an ugly girl.
well, I started panicking a little bit and started umming myself, but I didn't have any notes or anything to go to. So I was like, yeah, I was in show choir. And it got a little bit of a laugh because people remembered that other guy was talking about show choir. And I was like, so we sang and we danced a lot and 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 then I was like, let me check my notes here. And I was like, no, I'm just kidding. And moved on. So it was super awkward. And then you know, the dead grandma stuff was all right.
What did you?
I
Can we talk about that more?
yeah. I said that my grandma said she hated me because I smoked weed, and so when she died, and the funeral director said, "Does anyone have any last words?" I said, "You either smoke or you get smoked, Grandma." So
She would have found funny. She would have found that funny.
Yeah, some people like that. And then I said, laughter is the best medicine. I was like, I love my grandma though, and so when she was in the hospital, they said laughter was the best medicine, and so I'd go over her bed and be like, but it didn't work, and then the doctor's like, oh, you were supposed to pull the plug first. So
Okay, that one.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
How did that?
first time ever, but
Did you record it?
yeah.
There's a
But
learning
it's-
curve.
But it was definitely rough, and then it hopefully it gets better, but it's.
I mean, you can totally craft that into something good.
Oh yeah, I mean, now that I've got some kind of basis, I think I can work with it. But you know, I was kind of going in blank, and the show choir stuff, I thought maybe I could throw it on at the end if I got 3 minutes out of the stuff that I had going in my head, but. A lot of that I even forgot, and then I just ended up having to be like, yeah, this is my first time, I was a little nervous, but
Sure.
thanks, guys.
I'm sure there's show choir stories you could tell.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
some-
I would just have to figure it out, because like I said, I had been thinking about stuff to say, but not really about show choir. That
well, I
kind of
mean,
just
yeah, at that-
popped in my head once that guy started talking about it,
Yeah,
and then...
at this point, you don't have to add it to the bit because the guy's not going to go before you.
Right.
I think next Wednesday, 3 buses.
maybe,
That's a great
yeah.
story.
Yeah, I was saying you should
You
tell
should-
some stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's only 5 minutes, so I gotta...
Yeah, you can tell.
I say keep it
Right.
shorter
Your
without
type
having
five
to
could Just
sacrifice.
be a real funny story like that, though.
Right. Yeah, so I gotta figure out how to do it, but yeah, I think it's coming along. It's cool that there's a place doing it again.
Oh yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, so, but, you know, it happens. Grandmas die, and
Yeah.
You
thought
either
about
smoke or
doing
get
stand-up.
smoked.
yeah,
That's a really good joke.
well, yeah, that one did get a laugh, and I was able to tie back the show choir thing to the joke the other guy made, so it kind of worked, and other than me, like, trying to save myself from that, and then just, like, ums and stuff, it really wasn't too bad for being 3 minutes, and also just... Everybody else was like doing a solid 5, and then like the lights blinked at 4 minutes, so you know to finish
Wrap it
up
up.
within about a minute or so. But with me, it's like,
They had
all right, that's all I got. Have a good night.
They'd probably like been doing it other places.
Oh yeah, most of the people had been doing it back when it was Snickers, I think, and around. A lot of them, I think, haven't been really doing it during the pandemic, but they've definitely done it before.
I'm excited to go back there. Because I was the house band at Snickers for a little while.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got the first draft beer that they ever served
At the new
comedy club. So that was kind of cool, and yeah, hopefully that. I don't know. I want to keep some of the stuff from this week that worked, and then add stories or whatever.
And I mean, it was definitely a good move to kind of go off what the previous person had done.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
always a good
Yeah.
thing to kind of try and build off of.
At the same time, though, I was afraid that because that guy, if that wasn't intentional, I was kind of nervous he might be offended if he was like.
Well, not necessarily the notes thing, but like
Yeah,
show
just
choir,
the-
just
the
kind
show
of branching
choir.
off of like
Be like,
previous
oh,
things they had
we're going
mentioned,
back.
kind of like a callback.
I would say
Yeah.
the notes thing, even if that wasn't intentional, I'd be like, dude, you made me funnier retroactively.
Right. I mean, when he did it, whether it was intentional or not, it was way funnier.
It was
But
like Andy Kaufman style, just like really committing to the bit and the character of not knowing what you're doing.
yeah, and as far as that, it definitely worked. So, but for me, it was just like a way to steer out of that joke that I didn't even mean to get myself going down. So yeah.
And you got any stuff that you're specifically thinking about adding to?
Shoot, I don't know. There's the 3 buses, or Jack by Jack or
That's what
What's
you
Jack
should.
by Jack?
when I got
Yeah,
mugged.
when he got
Oh,
mugged.
yeah.
At Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
And the guy with the big foam head came out and started shagging him.
Pretty much everyone was talking about smoking weed and stuff, though, so that was another thing, like you said, good to call back to what people have been talking about, I think. But I think a lot of people also had, like, quite a bit of material. They could kind of pick and choose what the audience is kind of...
That's the difficult part, is doing the callback without, like, especially if everyone was doing weed jokes.
Yeah.
Then also doing it just feels
Not
repetitive.
beating it to death.
Unless you make it, like, real original.
Like
Because like
that-
if,
like your
if
joke,
yeah
though.
something
Your joke
topical
was-
something topical happens, everyone makes jokes about it. So if you're going to do it, you need to find a way to make it like real original.
That makes
So if
sense,
everyone's kind of making jokes about pot and then you do it, unless it's real original, then everyone's kind of just like what we've heard the rest of the time already.
That makes sense, yeah. And the cross-country jokes was about when they hazed freshmen by making them wear sports bras. And I was like, I was just doing cross-country to run from my sexuality. And I was going to transition into Bob Marley playing Way Gay. And I don't know. But I blanked on that.
Oh, well, I mean, it's your first time. You got plenty of time to figure out how to weave everything.
Right, yeah. But you really can't, at least at that comedy club, you can't really see people once you're up there. It's like the lights are so bright. Yeah. You just see like shadows of people.
I'm sure that helps a little bit.
Yeah, it
Not
definitely
seeing all
makes
these
it.
eyes staring at you.
Yeah, makes it not as bad. And there was some people who were like making jokes about making awkward eye contact and stuff, but like I'm pretty sure they weren't actually.
Yeah.
It was just like doing it in a general direction. So I don't know. It was cool to see it though. That's the first time I've ever been to a comedy club at all. I've seen a comedy show before, but it was like at a theater.
Professional theater.
Not at a, Cool. Cool, so our last topic. What is the worst jobs that you guys have ever had?
How specific do you want us to go? Do you want us to like
As specific
name drop
as
places?
I mean, you probably don't have to name drop the restaurants or the
Facilities.
Am I being presumptuous here? But
For most of our jobs have been
don't
restaurant based
specifically
anyway. So
name drop. Yeah.
Okay.
say I've worked like 4 places and 3 of them have been basically
Well,
restaurants.
I
So
think
Right.
Eric's had a lot of jobs, so he should start.
Okay. Worst job?
Or like
or
the
you need
worst,
time, I can go.
worst job experience.
Yeah,
Like
that's-
the worst day on a job, maybe.
Oh, okay. I worked.
yeah.
I worked. Like 3-4 hours at Ruby Tuesdays.
Is that like an especially bad couple hours?
Yeah. No, they threw me in without any training or anything.
Wait. Yeah or no? You said yeah,
Oh,
no.
you know the Midwest. That means yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
So the yes.
Yes.
No?
Yeah, no.
No.
Okay. Proceed.
Okay.
So
Got it.
I got there and they.
Who's on third?
No, what's on there? They threw me in without knowing anything. Like they were like, "Oh yeah, you've worked at a restaurant before. It's fine." And I think at that point I had never worked in a kitchen, and
I just picture them now throwing you in like Jazz from Fresh Prince. They literally throw you in.
kinda. So the other restaurant I mentioned the name, so it doesn't matter. But the other restaurant in town that was closed. Everybody was flocking to Ruby Tuesdays, and I didn't know how to do really anything. They had like POS systems that would show you how to make the food, but I had never like worked there a minute in my life until they were like, "All right, the things show you what to do. Get back there." And I'm like, "Okay then." And,
Put me in, coach.
The restaurant was so packed; it was ridiculous. For 3-4 hours, I literally was doing nothing but just struggling so hard. And then at the end of the night, they were like, "All right, so we'll see you next time." And I'm like, "All right." I walked out, and then like I don't know, maybe a week and a half later, they called me and they're like, "Hey, you didn't show up for your last couple of shifts." I'm like, "You didn't tell me I had more shifts. Nobody told me anything." And so I was like, "All right, well, I'm not going back there." They clearly are looking too much and not really like taking the initiative. Maybe.
Cat's joining the podcast.
This is Daisy.
Can you meow into the microphone? Make your podcast debut.
If you pick her up, she'll...
Yeah. So yeah, I got a call from after like the week and a half that I didn't work anywhere. I got the call from another restaurant like the next day, and I was like, I'm good now. Got another job. It's good.
That's kind of similar to mine. I worked at Jack in the Box for like a week, but there's only like one shift in there. Because I worked one shift and I thought it was going to be okay. They told me only my next shift to come in. And they had me working, just putting cheese in tacos all night.
Oh, God.
They were like, you got to master one task, and then we'll move you on to the next task.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like...
And you didn't master cheese in the taco by the second taco?
Yeah, like it was really easy. And repetitive, boring, and they just talked down to me the entire time. And I was like, I've worked in restaurants. It was a second job, and I was basically running a restaurant. Not running a restaurant, but like I was doing all kinds of stuff with a restaurant otherwise. So I could easily make tacos, put cheese in tacos. So I did that for an entire shift the first night. They told me to come in the second time, and I came in, and the manager wasn't there, and I'd walked there in Arizona heat. So I show up, and the manager wasn't there to tell me when to work or clock me in, and so I waited for like an hour, and nobody showed up or let me clock in. So I was like, I'm wasting my time. You guys obviously don't care, and even if you came in, I would work a shorter shift putting cheese and tacos for another day. Like,
Yeah.
This just isn't worth it as a second job. So that was Jack in the Box was my worst. I guess we're already heavily breaking the not naming the restaurants rule.
Well, I can keep that chain going. So...
Well, ours are chains.
Yeah. If it's a well-known national place.
So I had a bad experience when I worked at Cracker Barrel. I was 16, and it was my first serving job. So one overall bad experience was just that one of my managers was a sexual harasser. So that was fun. But I worked my first day, which was a Saturday, and I was training with somebody. And then the next day was a Sunday. And if you know, old people like their breakfast food. So we were very, very busy. And they decided...
Threw you in on a Saturday?
Yeah. Never served before. Threw me in on a Sunday by myself. They were like...
It's a good thing.
They were like, you don't need any more training. You're fine.
Anybody? No.
Not an iron.
What? What'd you say?
It was mildly offensive, so I didn't work.
I think it went over my head.
Yeah, literally, because I'm sitting up higher.
So they threw me in on a Sunday by myself. They were like, you had one day of training, you're fine. And so I got there super, super unorganized. I was supposed to clock on, but like they didn't let the other servers go for another like probably at least 45 minutes. So I was just waiting and waiting and waiting. They were like, roll silver. Oh, all the silver's dirty. I don't know, go find something to do.
Yeah.
So I finally am able to get a table. I have my little section. 16-year-old me, terrified, so nervous. I have my first table, and it's 3 ladies and 3 guys. They're, a bit older. And so food was taking a while. It's Sunday, we're busy. And I was bringing out a tray for another table that I was running. And apparently one of the ladies was very upset that I was not doing a good job serving them and their food was taking forever. So she came up to me, snatched the tray out of my hand that was not their food, and she said, "I'll take that," and walked to their table and sat it down.
Wow.
I was like, I didn't even know what to do.
I've never seen anybody
Yeah.
rude.
Karen's got balls.
Yeah, Karen had big balls. So I walked to the back and like tears just started streaming down my face, and my manager was like, different manager, not the sexual one, was like,
Not the sexual
was
one.
like, hey Becca, are you okay? And I was like, I don't, like I couldn't even speak, and I was just like, Trey lady took it, and he was like, what? And I was, and I finally managed to get out the words like, this lady took a tray of food that's not even hers to her table, and she's proceeding to lay it out for people as if it's their food. I guess they didn't remember what they ordered. So the manager came out there and was like, ma'am, you need to get out of my restaurant. you can't just go snatching things from my servers.
Bitch hungry.
Or at least it wasn't the other one. He'd be like, excuse me, ma'am. Honk honk. You gotta get out.
Oh my god. Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, that was, and then I was like, hey, this has been really stressful for me today. Would I be able to leave for the rest of the day? Because I just, I'm very upset. This is very new to me. And they were like, nah, get back out there. You're fine.
Man.
And so yeah, I worked there for a year, and I hated it.
People are crazy.
Yeah. So that's my chain restaurant job story.
Did you say chain restaurant or Shane restaurant?
Speaking of Shane,
Shane did not
I
own
own the
Cracker
Cracker Barrel,
Barrel,
actually.
but yes, let's move
he
on
was
to
honk
the
honk.
let's move on to the Shane restaurant.
No. Becca made the chalupa, but Shane never honk honked.
Becca invented the chalupa.
We'll talk about
That's a
that another
different
time.
story as well. So my job was not at a chain restaurant. I've only actually ever worked at one chain place ever, really. So, but my worst thing, it wasn't really one singular experience so much as it was just the entire time was kind of, for the most part, bad.
I know
we
what this
call this-
podcast should be called. The Shane Gang, like chain gang.
There you go.
Could we call this
Clearly I'm the
place
leader.
Angry Bees? Is that...
We don't. No, Applebee's is a chain, Becca. But it was my first ever job.
Oh.
I was a busboy, and first of all, I worked illegally. They never got the permission slip that you're supposed to get through school or whatever to say that oh, you're a minor, but you're working for us.
Because you were 15, right?
Yeah, so they never got that, which upset my dad quite a bit because he was like, "Hey, that's illegal." So I worked for them illegally. Everyone kind of talked down to me, and so I just did my job. I just got out constantly. I got tips, so it paid decently. And for some reason, I knew several friends had parents that would go there all the time, and yet I never met them. It was always just the horrible customers that were just rude to me that I ended up with for some reason. And then I would have friends' parents that are like, "Oh yeah, I'm there all the time, and I've never seen you." I'd be like, "Yeah, that sucks. I wish I'd see you." But yeah, so my coworkers weren't really great, and there was a couple times where people would slip me extra tips. A couple of my coworkers, where they'd be like, "Don't tell the other busboys."
Slip me a little tip.
They'd be like, "Don't tell the other busboys, but you're doing a better job than them, so just take this. It's an extra $10 or whatever. Take it. Don't tell the company. That's just yours to keep." And I'd be like, "Sweet." And I would not tell anyone because I'm not about to share that.
Well, you're
Shane ain't no snitch.
But there's times where, since I was a busboy, I was supposed to be, quiet. I wasn't supposed to be super intrusive with anything. And so people, the servers and, bartenders would complain that they never saw me. And I'd be like, that means I'm doing my job well. I'm wearing all black and, picking up giant bus tubs full of dishes. If you don't hear them rattling around, that means the customers don't either, so I'm doing a good job, clearly. But, they would... I know that my other busboys were also getting, tips on the side because they didn't... There was bartenders that weren't a fan of me for whatever reason. And then our grandma passed away, and so I was like, "Hey, do you guys care if I leave early?" And they were like, yeah, go ahead. And so I went home, and they would normally send me the schedule, and it wasn't posted anywhere in the restaurant. They would just send it to everyone. And they never sent me the schedule again after I left that day. And so I was like, okay, I guess I just got fired. Because, like, all of the managers that liked me and I liked also were leaving at that time. One left to go to like, a juice business or something. One left, and then the owner would threaten to fire people constantly. He'd be like, oh, all of you are replaceable. I'd be like, you are doing a great job, man. Good job. You're a great owner.
Bless you.
So just overall, wasn't a super pleasant experience, but there was at least a couple people that were decent coworkers to me.
Wasn't that the job where Zach's old friend was stealing money?
Theoretically.
Zach's old friend was stealing money?
I worked with him. He was a busboy as well. And then the other busboy,
Bus man.
there was a busboy who he used to brag to me that he got kicked out of school for selling guns to other students.
Oh, wow.
He apparently, I didn't work that day, but I came in one day and wasn't there. And they were just like, oh yeah, we were told that he was taking money, and when so-and-so caught him, he offered him some of it, and he didn't take it and ratted him out apparently, but I don't really trust the other person either. So there's no telling whether both of them were doing something wrong or not, or
Right.
who was. So, but either way, I've had better jobs since then.
Damn. Well, that's the restaurant industry for you.
Yeah, there you go.
So all of our worst jobs are restaurants.
Yeah.
I kind of had a feeling it might go that way, though.
Well, that's, I mean, you grow up with a dad who ended up going to culinary school, and
Right.
it's just kind of
But-
in our blood.
Yeah, but I mean, even on top of that, just like the restaurant industry,
That's kinda
it's
stuff,
getting better, but there's a lot of practices that are...
I'll say I've had
Kinda
one
rough,
non-restaurant job, and it was my last job.
And
it
even-
was pretty good to, overall.
Right. And even
A
if
lot
you...
less complaints.
Yeah. Even if you work in, like, a really good restaurant, there's still going to be, like, crazy people who get hired.
Oh,
yeah.
Just because that's how it
Definitely.
goes. And they make things crazy and interesting. So it's, like, even beyond just growing up and, like, restaurant jobs being attractive to us, like, the restaurant industry is crazy.
Yeah. I'm sure there could be an entire episode just based around stories from the
Yeah,
restaurant.
stories from
Yeah,
restaurants.
for real.
Which we will do.
I was going to say, and half of this one was. So.
Yeah.
We got more stories.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
More war stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's my war sound.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a whole army coming at you? Just 300, but the whole army's going, yeah. Like the knights who say, me. All right. What a way to end this episode.
Yeah. Hopefully next week we have a name. Something.
Well, my name's
official.
Zach.
Oh, I'm
Ishmael.
no. I am Eric of Daniel.
Oh, yeah. We've been watching Handmaid's
Yeah, that's a
Tale.
reference to Handmaid's Tale, by the way.
I'm Becca.
I'm Shane. I feel like this whole introduction thing would go better if there was
Yeah.
visual with it.
Or if it would have happened in the
Camera
beginning.
If there was
in the
visual to
beginning.
go with the naming,
Yeah.
that'd probably be good.
But
Well, let's see.
We'll have visual
We gotta get
the
the
rest of the
kinks
time.
worked out.
if you had watched the thing, me, Eric, is on. Wait, is it flipped? On
He's
the
in the
camera?
Spider-Man shirt.
There
Yeah,
is
I'm
no
wearing
camera.
a Spider-Man shirt.
Yeah.
but we've said our names throughout this. I
Actually,
think-
we've said
Yeah,
I would
names
hope
and
you know our names.
you could,
by
I
now.
mean, compare the voices to figure out, I'm sure.
We'll
Yeah.
do a comic book intro.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
No, we won't. But
That's too much.
I'll get to animating it right now.
Oh, maybe we could be called the Mystery Men.
Is that copywritten?
Well,
yeah,
the Mysterical Men.
Hysterical?
hysterical.
Yeah,
The
Mysterio.
Mysterio.
The Mysterio Men.
Hysterical. That's right, the hysterical podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week then.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Watch some Vines if you've never seen a Vine.
Oh, yeah. Should we do like a recommendation every week? Because I think we should recommend
You got something to recommend?
Vine compilations.
You can, recommend Vine compilations,
Yep.
and I recommend dead grandma jokes.
Yeah,
can
I
I-
recommend not sticking your head in a microwave.
Your head or
Ever?
your hand?
No, your head.
Ever?
No, not ever.
Okay, so sometimes it's okay.
I'd recommend doing one
ever.
outro
Oh,
per video.
never ever.
Yeah, we should probably just do one outro.
Doing
I
multiple
agree with
outros
Shane.
tends to carry it out.
Bye.
That's my recommendation.
All right.
All right.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
One intro. Outro. Bye.
Bye.
All right, good podcast, guys. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Why are we still going? The never-ending podcast. That's what we should call
The
it.
never-ending podcast.
It just goes on and on, right?